Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Podcast. Today is January the 19th, 2018. I'm your host, Patrick Tabor, and today on the Parenting Edition, we're going to talk about leadership. Today on the Parenting Edition, I wanted to discuss briefly about leadership, especially leadership in your home. As a parent, you have to be a good example. I know you hear me say that a lot, but it has to become a fact in your life, meaning that is your goal, is to be a good example. You want to please God. That is the number one thing. But number two is you want to be a good example to those around you. Everybody that you have the ability to influence, you want to be able to influence them in a positive way, not a negative way. So I'm going to read through these 4 scriptures, and I want to say a little something about each one. And hopefully you'll get what you need out of this for this week. In Proverbs 11:14, it says, "Where there is no guidance, a people falls, but in an abundance of counselors, there is safety." Your kids and your wife or your husband, they need to see you seek out help or counsel for situations that you may not understand or totally be able to handle by yourself. It's a good thing to find information, whether you're going and reading books, looking up information on the net, consulting a pastor or pastors, trying to find somebody who's really going to give you hard evidence or give you something that's going to be totally beneficial to the structure that you're trying to create in your life. Whatever you may be trying to fix, you have to get counsel. And people need to see you, especially in your home, need to see you getting that counsel, meaning you don't hide the fact that you know that you don't know everything. You do what you need to do to find the answers you need to for a situation. If you don't understand a certain scripture, they need to see you going to look up that scripture and find out what it means for your own situation or purpose. That will help them know what to do in those type of situations. Number 2, Psalms 37:5 says, "Commit your way to the Lord, trust in him and he will act." They need to see you commit your way to the Lord and trust him in small things and big things. And they need to see him act in those things. That will help them believe God. A lot of times people have a hard time believing in God because they see things happen in some other people's lives, but then they don't try it for themselves to the extent that individual they watched tried it. In other words, you can give up like right before your blessings getting ready to happen. And I know that sounds cliche, but the truth is, you have to try things for yourself. A lot of times people want you to do it for them, or they want you to be the conduit that brings the blessing to them. But there's got to come a time where people have to commit their own way to the Lord and trust in him. But they need to see an example along the way and see him act in your life, and then they'll want him for themselves. Number 3, Proverbs 31:8-9 says, "Open your mouth for the mute, for the rights of all who are destitute. Open your mouth, judge righteously, defend the rights of the poor and the needy." People need to see, especially in your home, they need to see you doing what you say you believe. In other words, speaking up for those who are not able to speak up for themselves, being helpful and protecting and judging rightly amongst those who don't have a lawyer or an attorney or somebody to help them. I'm not saying in court per se. I'm saying just in general life. As simple as trying to get the people in your home to be able to look at an individual and look at both sides, not look at one side. A homeless person may have become homeless because of a set of circumstances that occurred to them, and they may not have wanted to be homeless. It wasn't a choice. Maybe it was circumstances that really changed their life, and they may not have been able to help that situation, or it could be the opposite, that they were not down on their luck. They just made a lot of bad decisions that caused their circumstances. Regardless, you need to teach people in your home to be able to see both ways and be able to sympathize with people regardless of either way, whether they're a person with a problem or they're a person that caused their own problem. Regardless, you need to be able to understand how to be empathetic towards those who are less fortunate or have certain situations, and be able to protect those who need the help, because sometimes people just want to stomp and trample all over them and not care. But all you're doing is creating a barrier for them to grow or to come out of what they're in. You're not helping the situation. You're actually making it worse. You might be talking to the person that would have the ability to help them, but you've already influenced or convinced them not to help because of your own one-sidedness or mindset. 2 Timothy 2:15 says, "Do your best to present yourself to God as one approved, a worker who has no need to be ashamed, rightly handling the word of truth." So, admit when you're wrong. Be able to go after God and really want not to do a good job to prove anything, but just knowing that God requires you to do your best. He requires us to be, he doesn't require us to be average. He requires us to be really good at what he says we need to do. You need to be approved. You need to know what the word says to be able to break it apart, to be able to, talk in context and really try your best to, you have no need to be ashamed because you've been approved by God. And it's not about works per se. It's about you handling the word correctly. Meaning, if you don't understand something, go ask somebody. All the time I will take time out when I don't understand. I'll go ask somebody because I just don't know. And I'm okay that I don't know. It's all right. If you don't understand something or you don't have a good, or you may have an assumption about something, but you want to check that assumption and not pass it along to anybody else just based on what assumption you have. You want to find out the truth as best you can. And, other people are going to have different interpretations about certain things. You need to check them all because that way, you will be better prepared to handle sharing that word with other people. That is the goal. You want to be approved by God. You don't want to be approved just by man, So I hope you got something out of this today. Be blessed, grace, and peace.